Clean Power, published on May 27, 2018, by Zachary Shahan May 27, 2018 by Zachary Shahan Look. Believe it or not, Elon Musk has more followers than I do. He has more expertise in electric drivetrains, batteries, big-ass rockets, and building multi-billion-dollar companies. In a "who's more credible when it comes to clean tech" poll, there's a solid chance the cleantech king would win, and win big. As it should be. I expect him to have more nuts. Elon knows about EVs, batteries, solar panels, and fluffbots than me. He has done a tremendous job translating some of his knowledge to the public and the media, but sometimes he also does a bit of a crappy job translating processes and challenges. By and large, when members of the media * get the story wrong, we can indeed just put the blame on them. If there seems to be a lazy or ulterior motive, that's extra easy to do. Remember, the media is not one single entity, and treating the media as good or bad is a pretty horrible thing to do if you make any use of good media and don't want to throw it in jail with the bad guys. I know you know this, but there's a tendency toward simplification in all of us, and it can quickly lead to throwing great people under the bus. On the other hand, we should be honest with ourselves and realize that many reporters have to cover a large variety of topics, even more true after the democratization of publishing, which has flooded the world with media outlets like cleantech, and thus lowered the value of published work. If you can get free news from a million sources, why pay for news? But if you don't pay for news, how do you expect news organizations to have enough money to do a tip-top job? Of course, this lack of cleantech expertise in the mainstream media in the midst of super fast-growing cleantech industries is what opened the door for cleantech to sprout, thrive, and get to where we are today. We have a place in the world because major media outlets didn't feel it fit their focus, readership, or expertise to publish dozens of stories a day about cleantech topics. It's also why major media outlets much of the time still don't get the story all that right compared to cleantech sites. They don't typically have people on staff who have been obsessively following Tesla, First Solar, BYD, SunPower, Proterra, ChargePoint, and EVgo for a decade or so. Even the people who cover them closely today probably have to cover a bunch of other topics, and tweet, and share on LinkedIn, and engage in comments, and yada yada yada, so they may not catch every single bit of information that comes out from Tesla or CATL or EVbox and be able to piece it together into a beautiful, perfect puzzle. Am I getting to a useful point? Yes, I hope so, but hold on a minute. Before I was in the media, I was director of a small nonprofit. Being interviewed many times during that tenure, and then later in my role as the director of cleantech, I have been frustrated many times by how one or two lines have been lifted from long interviews, inserted into narratives that it seemed the writers were set on making no matter what I said, and often missed the key points. My frustrations with such media coverage has guided my approach here quite a bit. But let's be frank, we're not perfect. No journalist, editor, or media outlet is. By and large, I think they are trying to understand a story and convey useful information and overarching points to readers. We make mistakes. We make a lot of them. As any new writer has learned, it's much easier to learn the mistakes you make and be humbled on a daily basis when thousands or millions of people are reading your work. Many mistakes are small. Some are big. Some are not factual, specific mistakes, while others are mistakes in the framing, mistakes in context, mistakes in the overall picture you're passing along to others. But here's the point in the form of a rhetorical question or two: should cleantech companies expect reporters to have enough expertise to get the full story right? should they expect reporters and editors to not be swayed by seemingly compelling arguments from other experts in the field? We at Cleantechnica have launched a reality check feature and now a similar Pravda feature specifically aimed at getting more reporters and editors in the mainstream media to understand common errors in this field, including errors of omission, errors in framing, imbalance, false equivalency, and common factual errors. We did this because we could see certain problems popping up repeatedly in mainstream media coverage. Some of these media mistakes might be nefarious, but we actually think far more are due to these non-experts not having a clear enough picture of the story. But how much of that problem is due to clean tech companies not giving them enough of the story? How much could Tesla have avoided bad press by more clearly explaining to the media what its approach is to business? Occurs, claiming, with no evidence provided before the news breaks and very little evidence provided immediately after, that autopilot saves lives. How would media coverage have been different if Tesla had published more about factory conditions, labor practices, and unionization campaigns before respectable Elon deserves a lot of respect, IMHO, for acknowledging certain mistakes he has made and trying to correct them. He does this far more than probably any other CEO I can think of. He definitely doesn't get enough credit for that. But I'm concerned that he sometimes is blind to some of his bigger errors, and I'm especially concerned that he's missing the validity of some critical feedback this time around. There's a certain syndrome successful people easily develop. With much success, you tend to think you have the answer, much more than anyone else, no matter the subject. If you learn about a new problem and then think, hey, this seems like a solid solution, it may be. Or it may not be. But if people who have worked on this topic for decades come along and say, actually, no, this is not a solution, and you're actually causing more problems than helping by pursuing it, instead of the normal tendency to accept that and move on, a successful man is more likely to think, well, actually, I'm smart and super successful, I know better. Now, when you have millions of Twitter followers and then he decides, instead, to run a poll on Twitter asking his supporters if they should support his idea or not, who's going to bet that the poll would ever end up with a vote against him? And this is where it starts to get a little concerning. I'm hugely hopeful that his recent poll pitting his own idea against the media was treated 100% as a joke by him, and not actually as a signal of what the right answer is, as some of his subsequent tweets implied. For sure, Sir Elon knows how to run a proper poll, the various forms of polling bias, and how boneheaded trolling that poll was as an actual data collection point. But it actually doesn't matter that much PR-wise. Elon tarnished his image with a certain number of people who believed that he believed that his poll was useful validation of his idea. How could he run with such a scientifically poor methodology? For sure, Elon Musk is not as bright as people say he is. I don't expect he considered the data useful, that he was just trolling, but even I, someone who gives Elon the benefit of the doubt probably 97% of the time, am not really sure in this case. More seriously, I'm concerned that he lost a huge amount of support from his base in these recent smackdowns, or tantrums, depending on how you view them. For sure, a ton of people viewed them as tantrums, as a billionaire acting like a teenage 4chan troll. There were enough comments in response saying as much right there on Elon's Twitter feed. However, when you've fought naysayers, cautious critics, pointless establishment norms, and bullies for a lifetime, and when you have a ton of supporters pushing back against those criticisms, concerns, it might be easy to brush off such responses. But there's no doubt about it in my mind, Elon's approach to debate in recent weeks has made him look bad, has made Tesla look bad, and all for no real benefit. I mean, what did he actually gain from these tweets attacking a wide range of reporters, scientists, and even some basic people tweeting their legitimate concerns in response to Elon's surprising change of focus? Yes, most supporters will still support him, and many may love it, but that doesn't mean that he and Tesla didn't take a serious self-inflicted hit to their brand in the process. Brand man, he may think, and so be it. Perhaps the products speak well enough for themselves that his businesses never take a hit, let's hope so. But a number of legitimate clean tech fans, Tesla supporters, and SpaceX enthusiasts have genuinely felt that their faith in Sir Elon was misplaced and will forever have a different perspective and approach about him and his companies. Word of mouth is powerful, and just as the narratives that have made Tesla and Elon so epically popular came about over time from a tremendous amount of word of mouth, so can a tarnished, negative image of the company and the mere man. How much new support did Elon and Tesla gain from these attacks on journalists and critics? How much did the man and the company lose? How much did this instance contribute to a positive image that will bring more people in? Elon's broad-brushed attacks on the media were the big problem in my eyes, though. They seemed to be completely tone-deaf to the global attack on democracy and the dramatic domestic attack on independent, investigative press. Yes, I get it that Tesla has been unfairly slammed and there's misleading story after misleading story about the company, but there's also a tremendous tsunami of positive stories, and those have been a ginormous help to Tesla's growth. Clean Technica alone has surely had tens of millions of views on Tesla's stories, and they've almost entirely been positive, and we're just one small corner of the pro-Tesla press. Why engage in broad-brushed attacks on the press when you're on top of the world? Donald Trump has specifically told people why he attacks the press. He doesn't want people to believe the press when they write bad things about him. It seems more than clear that Donald has been involved in corrupt dealings for decades. He has something to worry about. His closest allies have been convicted of serious crimes, and more are around the corner. It may be immoral, but it actually makes sense for him personally, not as leader of the free world, to attack the media, just as it is for autocrats and dictators who don't want exposed corruption to be believed. But for Tesla, for Elon, attacking the press makes him look similarly guilty, makes it look like bad news is around the corner, makes it look like the pressure is getting too high. Accepting that some press is going to miss the mark, correcting the record, and doing a better job of preemptively shaping the story would be a better approach than attacking a core democratic institution. Yes, I get it, he had some notes in there about how wonderful good journalists are, but there were enough broad attacks on journalism and entire journalistic outfits that the overall effect was clear. The big issue here is that there have been decades of assault on journalism and democracy. Elon not only plays into that, but he seems to have been fooled by it. The assaults on Tesla have been limited, tiny, and practically inconsequential in comparison to the attacks on journalism and democracy. I'm sure Elon doesn't follow US or European politics and policy as much as I do and as much as I have in the past few decades. Good. He has better things to do with his time. But he stepped into the arena in a super careless, counterproductive, anti-democratic way. He attacked people in the profession rather than their actual work and mistakes. Actual experts in this field spoke up, and they got tossed ad hominem attacks as well. He repeated several of the mistakes in logic and debate that he's upset other people make about him and Tesla. It's unfortunate, it's rattling, and to an Uber supporter who has been called a Tesla fanboy more often than all but a small number of individuals, it made me drop my head in disappointment a bit. Yes, call out the mistakes in certain articles or even the bias from certain outlets. We do that ourselves. But don't bash journalists and the media so generally. The media as a whole is the greatest check on power we have in a democracy. Making broad-brushed attacks on the media is super harmful to democracy. If you followed this space closely, you'd know that we're in a horrible time for respect for the media, not just because of media mistakes but because of concerted, conspiratorial, political attacks on the media and the core columns of democracy. These have been going on not for months or years, but for decades, by powerful people who know the full truth is not their friend in a democratic society. They're one of the reasons the press isn't having one of the best decades of its existence. The broad-brushed attacks are like kicking an injured player on the ground instead of helping them up. It's not Elon's beat, I get it. He thinks he knows more about the media than journalistic experts on the subject do, just like some journalists think they know more about Tesla than they do. It's easy to back up this broad assumption with a handful of examples of bad media coverage. But it's ridiculously wrong to contribute to incessant, anti-democratic attacks on journalism as a whole. I understand that Elon has qualified a few times now that he loves and respects great reporters. Cool. But he has been too careless with his broad attacks on the media and journalists, and that was clear in the many tweets that followed his. A ton of people, or bots, emphasized their disgust for the media and for journalists. These journalists legitimately spend their careers trying to uncover important information for society and present it in a useful way. They may not always do a great job, but the ridiculous attacks on their intentions and humanity are not only harmful to the Tesla brand, they are harmful to society as a whole. Here are a handful of responses from what seem like genuine Tesla, Elon fans who are disturbed and disappointed by this recent approach to PR, societal discussion. I can't stress this enough. I love what at SpaceX and at Tesla do, but this kind of thinking is immeasurably dangerous. Forget the singularity as the biggest threat. This is classic authoritarianism with an entrepreneurial paint job. Justin Lynn Reed Rose, at Sinflin 28 May 23, 2018 As a thought leader you must help protect the freedom of speech. Discourse like this, no matter the intent, is no different than Trump's. If you have a problem with a specific media outlet, name names, but please do not write off hardworking journalists and truth seekers entirely. Andrew Logan, at Janlog, May 23, 2018 I have a lot of respect for Elon Musk, but given the political environment and our clownish president, undermining the media is a terrible idea. Ronan Vengosh, at Revengosh, May 26, 2018 Elon, I truly admire you as a visionary and innovator. While you are doing this for the greater good, it also comes across a bit as you being tired, frustrated, and I fear it is a poor time to give ammunition to despot wannabes against a free press because they will hurt people. Jack Sullivan, at Jack Says Nope, May 26, 2018 You are doing wonderful things. Please, stop feuding with journalists and engaging in Twitter beefs. It only makes you seem thin-skinned and petty. Answer with your work. The Tracker, at Idiot Tracker, May 26, 2018 Elon, maybe I'm just not smart enough to follow all of this. I get that some publications just want to attack you and Tesla, and that's just wrong and bothers me, but there are many good pubs, journalists out there and we need them to maintain our democracy. Trish M, at Trisha_1859112, May 24, 2018 Literally all the money in the world, yet Elon Musk cannot seem to hire a PR person. Dude, just stop. With every tweet you're making your company look worse. You realize that liberals buy Teslas, so maybe don't try to curtail the First Amendment. Brian Bach, at Boombach, May 23, 2018. Please be careful. It is a very slippery slope. There are questionables in everywhere. I ask that you point out the more positive. The negative will go down when people see that the ones truly doing their journalistic responsibilities with your same tenacity. The Great Rises, elegantly wasted wine full score, at Dinner Sangle, May 26, 2018. I love you, Elon Musk, but come on, you suggested literal mob rule as to the credibility of journalists. In a time where people are so ill-informed, 41% of the U.S. doesn't believe the Russia investigation hasn't found any crimes. Yes, critique away, but let's find a better way. Kristen, at Erlen Moon 12, May 26, 2018. Please be concise with your journalism criticisms. There are a lot to criticize, but we are in a transition period and there are some challenges that need to be fixed. But we don't need any more Trump-like bully pulpit voices using Twitter like a sledgehammer. Kodiska, at Ern Scott, May 26, 2018. Many in media is a squishy generalization. Can we agree that you're maligning just one or two journalists? Let's not jump on Trump's destroy the Fourth Estate bandwagon here. David Florin, at the David Florin, May 26, 2018. This is real lazy criticism, yo. Codeb, at Cody Brown, May 23, 2018. Oh, is that the problem? Elon, at Reveal, is a non-profit, suffering from none of these problems. The ignorance this man displays daily of the journalism process is truly astounding. https://t.co/779htkwnz5. Jessica Hoosman, at Jessica Hoosman, May 23, 2018. What kind of nonsense reply is this? Do you need another 1,000 examples? Bro, journalists bite the hand that feeds their employer daily, every day. That's a good thing. Jason Lancaster, at Carcaster, May 23, 2018. This is dumb. You're going to get people who are then going to manipulate the masses and point them at this website, and it's just going to become another tool. You need people to cite and fact-check, not have feelings about if something is true. You need evidence. Levi Gretton, at Lev Gretton, May 23, 2018. Woo boy, fan of Tesla, have worked at news orgs large and small, for-profit and non-profit, and no question journalists need serious education in base rates, but the idea that commercial interests drive investigative work is bizarro world. David Epstein, at David Epstein, May 23, 2018. The public anyway makes the critique of the quality of the journalism. In the old days by buying the newspapers or not and brings them to billions or some to bankruptcy. Same as today with website traffic. Readers always choose to buy or read quality articles, and that is critique. Teslactrix, at Teslactrix1, May 26, 2018. Mr. Musk, you must, however, agree that facts cannot be a matter of public opinion. If a media source is unfavorable toward you or Tesla, make them prove their point. It's below you to try and discredit media. It fuels a divisive narrative. Alex Clark McGlenn, at Alex Clark Miji, May 26, 2018. Elon, you might want to log off. Abolish ICE, at Platin Austin, May 23, 2018. Please stop. To Tesla owner, longtime shareholder and devoted fan of all of your projects, Mark Harris, at Marisk, May 26, 2018. To recap and clarify the title, Elon is right that there are plenty of errors in media coverage of Tesla, as well as other topics. Those should be responded to and corrected. He's right that there are fairly widespread narratives out there now about Tesla, about EVs, and about other clean tech that are misleading and harmful. He's wrong to put all the blame on the media and not recognize how much of this is due to Tesla's own mistakes and missed opportunities to frame the narrative and explain the nuances of the story. Acknowledging those mistakes would have been a much more effective way to respond to mistakes in reporting and growing media narratives. He's super wrong. And, yes, that is definitely part of what he did. Whether Pravda will be a super cool and useful tool or not, support Cleantechnica's work via donations on Patreon or PayPal. Or just go buy a cool t-shirt, cup, baby outfit, bag, or hoodie. Tags: Elon Musk, Tesla. Zachary Shahan. Zach is trying to help society help itself, and other species. He spends most of his time here on Cleantechnica as its director and chief editor. He's also the president of Important Media and the director, founder of EV Obsession and Solar Love. Zach is recognized globally as an electric vehicle, solar energy, and energy storage expert. He has presented about cleantech at conferences in India, the UAE, Ukraine, Poland, Germany, the Netherlands, the USA, and Canada. Zach has long-term investments in TSLA, FSLR, SPWR, SEDG. But he offers no professional investment advice and would rather not be responsible for you losing money, so don't jump to conclusions.